love the Ravens as much as we do, then smash that subscribe button and stay locked in with Flock News for all the drama, updates, and excitement all season long. The whispers coming out of Baltimore feel louder than usual, the kind of low rumble that fans swear they can feel before anything becomes official. And this time the name circling the Ravens complex is one that immediately changes the temperature of the room. JAYCEE Horn being linked to Baltimore is the kind of rumor that makes people sit up straighter because it speaks directly to identity, to intent, and to a franchise that has always taken personal pride in intimidating defenses. The idea floating around league circles is that the Ravens are not just shopping for depth or a rotational piece, but aiming for a statement move that sends a clear message to quarterbacks across the conference. Horn represents that message in human form, a cornerback who plays with swagger, physicality, and a confidence that borders on provocation in Baltimore. That kind of personality has never been a problem, it has been a tradition. The speculation suggests internal conversations about restoring fear in the secondary, about closing windows that have been exploited by modern passing attacks, and about doing it with a player who thrives when isolated on an island. Fans reading between the lines see this rumor as a return to roots, a reminder of when wide receivers dreaded crossing routes against purple jerseys. Even without confirmation, the mere association has reignited debates, excitement, and late-night talk shows buzzing with possibility. Because this feels less like a random rumor and more like a calculated chess move, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Inside this rumor is a deeper narrative about how Baltimore views the evolution of the game and their place within it. Because targeting a player like JAYCEE Horn suggests a philosophical choice as much as a personnel one. The Ravens have always valued corners who can play press coverage, who are comfortable with contact, and who do not shy away from responsibility when defenses leave them exposed. Horn fits that mold so cleanly that it almost feels scripted, as if his style was designed in a lab to match Baltimore's defensive DNA. Speculation points to the coaching staff believing that the secondary can become the emotional engine of the team once again, feeding energy to the pass rush and forcing offenses into mistakes born of hesitation. This rumor also hints at an internal urgency, a sense that the window to dominate defensively is always fragile and must be protected aggressively. Bringing in Horn would not just be about coverage skills, but about tone setting during practices, about raising the competitive baseline in the locker room. Teammates reportedly would have to earn every catch in training sessions, every rep contested, every moment challenged. In that environment, the secondary stops being a weakness to hide and becomes a weapon to unleash, even if nothing is signed yet. The belief that Baltimore is thinking this boldly has already shifted expectations among fans and analysts alike. Another layer to this swirling speculation involves what it would mean for the balance of power within the conference. Because the Ravens adding a corner like JAYCEE Horn changes matchups before the ball is even snapped. Offensive coordinators would be forced to rewrite sections of their playbooks, to reconsider which side of the field they prefer, and to question whether their top receivers can consistently separate against physical man coverage. The rumor paints a picture of Baltimore wanting to dictate terms rather than react, to force opponents into uncomfortable decisions instead of adjusting on the fly. This kind of confidence is not accidental. It is built on the belief that elite defense still travels, still wins, and still terrifies. Horn's presence, even as a rumor, symbolizes that belief. Fans imagine scenarios where quarterbacks hesitate just long enough for pressure to arrive, where throws are redirected or never attempted, where frustration builds drive after drive. It also sparks conversations about depth, rotations, and how a reinforced secondary allows the rest of the defense to play faster and more aggressively in these imagined futures. Baltimore looks less like a team trying to survive shootouts, and more like one determined to suffocate them. That vision is what makes this rumor stick, because it aligns perfectly with how people want to see the Ravens play. There is also an emotional component to this speculation that should not be underestimated, because Baltimore's fan base connects deeply with defenders who play with visible edge. JAYCEE Horn has built a reputation for intensity, for competing on every snap as if it were personal, and that resonates in a city that celebrates toughness as much as talent. The rumor suggests that decision makers understand the importance of that connection, of giving fans a player they can rally behind, argue about, and defend passionately on social media. Horn arriving in purple, even hypothetically, becomes a symbol of defiance against a league increasingly dominated by offense. It tells supporters that the franchise still believes in punching first, in challenging receivers at the line, and in making games uncomfortable. This emotional resonance feeds the rumor mill because fans want it to be true. They dissect interviews, body language, and vague comments from insiders, looking for confirmation hidden between the lines. In that sense, the rumor has already achieved something powerful. It has unified optimism, nostalgia, and anticipation into a single storyline that feels authentically Ravens from a strategic standpoint. The speculation around this move also touches on how Baltimore might be planning for the future, not just the immediate season. JAYCEE Horn is often described as a cornerstone type of player, someone around whom schemes can be built and adjusted. The idea that the Ravens are pursuing that kind of cornerstone in the secondary implies long-term thinking, an effort to stabilize a critical position group rather than constantly patching it year after year. This rumor hints at internal evaluations that see the secondary as the final piece needed to unlock the full potential of the defense. With a lockdown corner, safeties gain freedom, linebackers play more aggressively, and pass rushers attack with confidence that coverage will hold. That domino effect is what excites analysts discussing this possibility, because it elevates the entire unit rather than just one spot on the depth chart. Even in speculation, the move feels cohesive, intentional, and aligned with organizational philosophy, which is why it refuses to fade quietly as the talk continues to circulate. The silence from official channels only adds fuel to the fire, allowing imaginations to run wild and theories to multiply. Every non-denial is treated as a clue, every ambiguous comment analyzed frame by frame. In the absence of confirmation, the story grows legs of its own, evolving from a simple rumor into a narrative about dominance, identity, and ambition. JAYCEE Horn's name being attached to Baltimore feels less like idle chatter and more like a test balloon, a way of gauging reaction and setting expectations. Whether or not it ultimately materializes, the speculation itself has already reframed how people view the Ravens' defensive intentions. It has reminded everyone that this franchise still dreams big on that side of the ball, still believes in imposing its will, and still understands the psychological impact of elite defenders. That belief is what makes the rumor powerful, because it feels believable, grounded, and perfectly timed. As the conversation shifts into what feels like a second act of this unfolding rumor, the focus turns from whether the Ravens want JAYCEE Horn to what it would actually look like if he were wearing their colors. The imagined fit becomes clearer the more people talk about it, because his style seems to mirror the kind of corner Baltimore has historically trusted in high-pressure situations. Analysts speculate about how he would be deployed, not sheltered, but challenged, asked to take on the opponent's most dangerous target and erase him from the game plan. This is the kind of responsibility that excites competitive players, and the rumor suggests the Ravens believe Horn would embrace it rather than shy away. That confidence extends to how defensive calls could become more aggressive, how blitz packages could be unleashed without fear of leaving the back end exposed. In this speculative future, Baltimore's defense becomes proactive again, dictating pace and forcing offenses into predictable patterns. The secondary transforms from a reactive unit into a commanding presence, one that thrives on disruption. This vision is what keeps the rumor alive, because it makes too much sense from a football perspective to be dismissed easily. Another angle fueling this speculation involves the psychological warfare aspect of football, something the Ravens have always appreciated. Adding a corner with JAYCEE Horn's reputation is about more than coverage metrics. It is about planting doubt in the minds of opposing receivers before the game even begins. The rumor paints a picture of wideouts questioning their routes, of timing being thrown off, of trust between quarterback and receiver slowly eroding over the course of a game. That mental edge is often invisible on stat sheets, but it is deeply valued by teams that pride themselves on defense. In Baltimore, defenders who can get inside an opponent's head are celebrated, and Horn's competitive demeanor fits that tradition seamlessly. The speculation suggests that the front office understands this intangible value and sees it as worth pursuing aggressively. Fans buy into this narrative because they have seen it work before, because they remember defenses that won games by intimidation as much as execution. The rumor taps into that memory and reactivates it, making the idea feel not just exciting but familiar. The ripple effects of such a move, even as speculation, extend beyond the defensive side of the ball and into the broader team culture. Bringing in a high-profile defensive back would signal a renewed commitment to balance. 2. Ensuring that the team does not become overly dependent on offensive fireworks, the rumor suggests internal discussions about complementary football, about building a roster where each unit feeds the other. A dominant secondary shortens games, preserves leads, and allows offensive play callers to operate without panic. This holistic view of team building is often attributed to Baltimore's long-standing philosophy, and the JAYCEE Horn speculation fits neatly within it. It implies patience, discipline, and a refusal to chase trends blindly. Instead, it reinforces the idea that the Ravens want to excel at what they do best, even in a league that often rewards the opposite. That ideological consistency is part of why the rumor feels credible to many observers. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. There is also talk, purely speculative of course, about how such a signing would be received inside the locker room. Defensive veterans would likely welcome the competition and the added firepower, while younger players would be forced to elevate their preparation and focus. The rumor hints at a culture where complacency is not tolerated, where every practice rep becomes a battle. JAYCEE Horn's presence, even hypothetically, becomes a catalyst for that environment. He represents accountability, intensity, and an expectation of excellence. Fans imagine practices filled with trash talk, with contested catches, with defensive backs celebrating incompletions as if they were touchdowns. That imagery aligns perfectly with what people want from a Ravens defense, which is why the speculation resonates so deeply. It is not just about talent acquisition, but about reinforcing an attitude that defines the franchise. As this speculative storyline continues to evolve, it also invites comparison with other moves around the league, framing Baltimore as a team willing to zig while others zag. While many franchises chase offensive solutions to offensive problems, the Ravens appear, at least in rumor, committed to solving them defensively. JAYCEE Horn becomes the embodiment of that countercultural approach, a reminder that elite defense can still tilt the field. This positioning appeals to traditionalists and modern analysts alike, because it suggests adaptability without abandonment of core principles. The rumor gains strength from this coherence, from the sense that it is not reactionary but deliberate. Even skeptics admit that if Baltimore were to make such a move, it would fit their identity perfectly. That reluctant acknowledgement keeps the conversation alive and growing. In the end, whether this rumor becomes reality or fades into off-season folklore, its impact is already tangible. It has reignited excitement, sharpened debates, and refocused attention on what the Ravens want to be moving forward. JAYCEE Horn's name attached to Baltimore symbolizes ambition, confidence, and a desire to dominate rather than merely compete. The speculation has reminded everyone that this franchise is always thinking one step ahead, always searching for ways to impose its will. Even without official confirmation, the story feels complete in its own way, a narrative of intent that speaks volumes. And in a league driven as much by perception as performance, that alone can be powerful. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.